All right, everyone, we are now officially live. What's up? It's your boy. What's up? Welcome back to the Trailblazer Razor. In this live, I want to go over something that we really need to talk about on the Off Road Campground Podcast. So, welcome back to another episode of the Off Road Campground Podcast, which happens every Saturday, some in the late morning into the afternoon. So, this one is all about riding with toddlers and keeping them safe while on the trail. So, what I've researched, because I was inspired to do this from my little baby cousin Briella, who'll be turning 2 next year, and we really need to keep her safe in the Razor. Being a high-powered ProStar Gen 2 engine, 114 horsepower, 999cc motor. So we got to keep her safe while riding around here in the yard, because that's mainly what we keeping her is around the yard. And because of that, you have to be very, very careful with her on board. So because of that, I've been looking at different booster seats for her to be boosted up into, hence the name booster seat. They make, I saw a couple that I've seen online, and some of them were actually from this one company called, um, look up toddler booster seats for a side by side. Toddler booster seats for a side by side. And yeah, they make the Apex Junior C from Aces Racing. I was thinking about this particular one, but seeing that it's not perfect for a 2-year-old, the best one was actually this one right here, the Sandcraft booster seat. This is perfect for a 2-year-old. Yep, this one is perfect for a 2-year-old. Go riding in the Razor. So, as you probably tell, around the edges of the seat, that's where the 4-point harness is going to go, and then she'll be strapped in perfect in no time at all. So yeah, the Sandcraft booster seat is perfect. I can strap it around the seat, and I can strap it around her shoulder. I can tighten it up as much as I can, and it'll help keep her safe, nice and straight. All I have to do is rock her from side to side a little bit to make sure she doesn't budge. At least have her move on her own to see if she can move at all with the 4-point harness. It's going to go around her belly and around her chest here. That's the small clip, and then the bottom one goes around her belly. So that's going to be hopefully good to keep them safe while on the trail or around the yard. Because I have very uneven ground. It's kind of like hilly a little, but not too much. It's still somewhat flat, but not completely flat. So there's we got a good amount of yard to go ride around in, or around the neighborhood if we want to take her around the neighborhood. Want her to be very careful going over 23, 24 miles an hour. around the neighborhood. So with the booster seat, after my last video I made before we took the side by side to get it serviced, and we did get the wheel bearing fixed, we were looking at the different points in the seat to where it'll actually connect to. We'll go to my library. Actually, we'll go to my YouTube channel. I'll come here to Trailblazer Razor, which I have 17 subscribers. So thank you to the 17 of you who subscribe to the channel. It really means a lot. We really need to continue to grow this page. So before I forget, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, so you get notified when I upload a brand new video, or when I do another live of the Off-Road Campground podcast. So thank you to the 17 of you who subscribe to the channel. We need a lot more. So 10 days ago, I did a video about how to fit my baby cousin's car seat in my Razor, but seeing that I have the same video on my TikTok page, which is the Trailblazer Razor, I was suggested a booster seat instead of an actual car seat. That's another thing. Pro tip: you don't want to use any regular car seat in the Razor or in any side by side, because side by side seats are designed differently than an actual car seat. There's no anchor points to anchor down the actual car seat to the side by side. So the best thing to do is get a booster seat to boost her up a little bit, so you can see high and see the where we're going and all that stuff. Even from time to time, look at the screen of what we're listening to from the iPhone here, because I will have music playing on my iPhone, and so you can see the screen. You can see all around her sitting in the back seat of the Razor. So the best two are the Aces Racing Apex Junior booster seat, as well as from Sandcraft. Their booster seat looks really cool. So those are the ones I'm mainly going with, is the booster seat from Apex Racing, or the Apex Junior from Aces Racing, or the Sandcraft booster seat. One of those two would do just fine in riding with a toddler to keep them safe. Even though their legs may not be long enough to reach the floor to grab onto, hold on to with their feet. If we go up hills or downhill or whatever, they're not going to, I guess, it'll do. Man, my throat. Sorry. So, yeah, with the booster seats for my 2-year-old cousin, who, for my 2-year-old cousin, the best is basically the Sandcraft. The Sandcraft is definitely the best for my 2-year-old cousin, but for 3 and up, Apex Junior from Aces Racing is perfect. But I think they also make some actual booster seats that actually strap to the roll cage. Which is right above the shifter. They'll be sitting up high, like above the dash. But that doesn't look good at all. Those little teeny tiny booster seats, yeah. Those are the ones I would not recommend. I've seen those all over the internet. They're like teeny tiny. that's strapped to the roll cage where my shifter is, or in the back where in between the two captain's chairs. Yeah, I'm going to show you which ones I'm talking about. For those of you who don't know, these kind of booster seats where they strap to the roll cage, and these don't look good at all, and plus I wouldn't recommend any of these. They actually have a harness strapped to the seat. I would never get one of those. Because it straps, it hooks to the roll cage, and it makes it very unsafe, even though their feet are just dangling. It could be a safety hazard, especially with the gear shift. Their feet can accidentally kick the shifter and put it out of gear, which I've never heard any of that happening, but it's a possibility depending on the child who is riding in those booster seats. Even put in the back, they're up higher. At least with the Apex Junior from Aces Racing or the Sandcraft, they're sitting basically like a car seat, and they're level with the actual seats themselves, which is good. It's a good thing. So getting these booster seats, whew, it's a lot of money, but we can make it work out. We can make all this work out. Yeah, we can make this work out perfectly. Especially with my cousin being 2 next year as of February 2027. Yeah, she'll be 2 in February 2027. And maybe for Christmas this year, later on in the year, I'll think about getting her a booster seat for the Razor. Because I think it's about time that I take her for a ride in the Razor. And because of that, she needs a booster seat to either put in the back or the front. Maybe put her in the back. She'll be mainly more independent by next year, so she can sit in the back seat by herself, where I'll just be in the back watching her while I'm driving. At least I got a rearview mirror to see what she's doing. Oh, that's gonna be fun. That is definitely fun. Take her for a ride in the yard. And it's all about keeping her safe. And with the booster seats that I mentioned from Aces Racing and Sandcraft, those booster seats can actually use the built-in 4-point harness. You don't have to install another harness, which is good. It's a lifesaver. It is definitely a game changer to have a booster seat for the Razor XP4000 Ultimate. That is a must if you have toddlers. Pretty soon, by, let's see, when she's 8, so is 2026. We'll look it up on ChatGPT. If my cousin Briella Grace was born February 15th, 2025, what year will it be when she turns 8 years old? Which is the height, which is the age she has to be for her feet to touch the floor of the Polaris RZR. Let's work it out step by step. Briella Grace, okay, yeah, Briella Grace was born February 15, 2025. She turns 1 in 2026, 2 in 2027, which is the perfect year for her to need a booster seat. And then she'll sit in that booster seat in 2028, 2029, 2030, 2031, 2032, and then she's ready to sit in the actual seat by 2033. So she'll turn 8 on February 15, 2033. This means 2033 is the year she'll be old enough, based on the age rule, for her feet to touch the floor of the Polaris RZR. So 2033, we're talking in the next decade. So she'll sit in the booster seat from 2027 to 2020. Oh, yeah, she'll sit in the booster seat from 2027 to 2032 or 2033, when she's going to be graduating from the booster seat and going into the actual main seat of the Razor for her feet to touch the floor of the Razor to actually use the 4-point harness. So until then, she's going to use a booster seat for the Razor, since the Razor does sit at a different angle than an actual car. I guess even in a car now, she's using a car seat to strap her in. But yep, she's already a year old, and by next year she'll be able to ride with me in the Razor, which is why we're talking about this on the Off-Road Campground podcast. So if you have little ones, check their ages, and if they're below 8 years old, then yeah, get a booster seat. I would definitely recommend the ones from Aces Racing, which is the Apex Junior car seat, and also Sandcraft with their booster seat. They're both really good because it's basically like a race car seat, but a booster. It sits flush with any side by side. I mean, that could fit in a Kawasaki. It could fit. Yeah, that can fit in the Razor. It could fit in a Kawasaki. It could fit in maybe a Can-Am. It can fit in any side by side, because side by sides have a different seat. It'll even fit in the CF Moto, in the Hondas or whatever side by side brand you have. It'll actually fit because they're designed. Side by side seats are designed like race car seats, where they're captain's chairs, and there's no bench seat unless you want to go even deeper and getting a bench seat. 2025 Polaris RZR. Bench seat. So you can replace the captain's chairs in the back with an actual bench seat. That'll fit a lot more people, but we probably don't need more than 4 people in the side by side, so I can easily keep the captain's chairs in the back and just do 4 at a time. That's if I have more than, in this house we have 3 people, me, my mom, and my dad. We can all ride together in the side by side. And when it comes to my siblings, my brother, sister, all 3 of us can actually ride in the Razor together, leaving one seat empty. But I guess since they're both married, both my brother and my sister, they're getting married in October. My sister and my brother-in-law. So we'll have to take turns riding around in the Razor. I actually took both of them for a ride in the side by side. So yeah, I took my sister and brother-in-law for a ride in the Razor back at Thanksgiving, and then in January I took my brother and sister-in-law for a ride. So they all had a turn in the Razor, and now it's time that I take my cousin Briella for a ride, and that's why I'm doing this episode for you guys, just to help out with booster seats and keep them safe. So one way you can keep them safe is by using the actual 4-point harness, strapping it around their belly and around their chest, because it's a 4-point harness. And the one that is on the driver's side where I'll be, it has a sensor to where I'm not buckled in, which I'm always buckled in. I'm always a safe driver. I like to stay safe when driving. So yeah, with my Razor, the best thing to do is just get a booster seat for my cousin Briella. I'm probably not going to be using it all that much, but when she does come over, it's going to be there. Put it in, strap it down, and I'm ready to go. I mean, it's quite an investment. Yeah, that thing is quite an investment for a 2-year-old almost. So it's just, I guess, one of those things, I guess. I gotta be very careful with taking my cousin Briella for a ride. Because I don't know how big she's gonna be right when she's 2. But next time I see her, I'll have to tell my cousin Olivia and I guess, yeah, I have to tell my cousin Olivia and her boyfriend Austin, about those booster seats for the Razor. Like show them the Apex Junior and the Sandcraft. Sandcraft would be the best option. She can be strapped down with the actual 4-point harness. I mean, we haven't really tested the Apex Junior yet. Which one is better for my cousin Briella when she turns 2? The Apex Junior or the Sandcraft? Booster seat or the Sandcraft booster seat. Okay, according to ChatGPT, they're comparing the two. You're choosing between the 2-rail UTV booster seat styles. So according to ChatGPT, they basically went through the internet and compare the two and see which one is better. It says if you're choosing between 2 real UTV booster seat styles, and honestly they're oh, here we go. Yeah, if you're choosing between 2 real UTV booster seat styles, and honestly they're built a little differently for 2 different goals. Let's compare them side by side, so you can pick what's best for Briella when she turns 8 and riding in your Polaris RZR. And when she turns 2. Oh, here we go. I had to fix that. You're asking the right question here because at 2 years old, the answer is very different than when she's 8. Because when she's 8, she'll sit in the actual seat that is actually installed in the Razor. Let's compare them to specifically for a toddler. The two seats. Okay, the Aces Racing Apex Junior seat. It's cheaper, but the suspension style kids UTV seat designed for ages 2 to 8 with harness compatibility. And with that seat, it'll act just like the Sandcraft booster, but they're saying that the Sandcraft UTV booster seat is a premium booster cushion designed mainly for, yeah. So Aces Racing Apex Junior seat, suspension style kids UTV seat, designed for ages 2 to 8 with harness compatibility, which I do have a harness. I have a 4-point harness. Sandcraft UTV booster seat, premium booster cushion design, mainly to raise older kids for better visibility and fit. Okay, side by side comparison for a 2-year-old. For the Aces Racing, age suitability designed for ages 2 to 8, safety design built for a 5-point harness use. I have a 4-point harness. Side support, full size boosters, yeah, full size bolsters, keeps a toddler in place. Ride comfort has suspension style orbs bumps, absorbs bumps. Security and seat can be mounted plus strapped in. Best for use young kids and toddlers. Sandcraft booster seat, better for older kids 5 and up. Basic booster relies on vehicle belt, minimal side support, flat cushion, less protection on rough trails, just sits on the seat. Bigger kids who just need height. The honest opinion for a 2-year-old like Briella, this will be 2027. The Apex Junior is clearly the better and safer choice. Here's why. It's actually designed for toddlers 2 to 8. It works with a 5-point harness, which is critical at that age. It has side support, so she doesn't slide around. It absorbs bumps, which matters a lot in a Polaris RZR. The Sandcraft seat is basically a booster cushion meant for kids who already sit upright well, not ideal for very young riders. Final recommendation: best for age 2 when she turns 2 in 2027. Apex Junior no contest. Sandcraft better later. Let's see, 2025, 6, 7, 8, 9. So about 2030 should be ready for the Sandcraft, but I don't know if they'll still be in production in 2030. 5 to 8 years old. One thing I need to say for safety: at 2 years old in a UTV, always use a 5-point harness, a helmet, and keeps rides slow and smooth. I already have a 4-point harness installed in the RZR. Will that work? Short answer: it can work, but it's not ideal for a 2-year-old. Here's the honest breakdown: a 4-point harness for the toddler, a 4-point harness shoulders and lap is fine for older kids and adults, not the safest option for very small children. Why? At Briella's age, which is 2, which is going to be 2027, her body will be smaller and more flexible. Yeah, her body is smaller and more flexible, in bumps or a sudden stop at a 4-point can let her slide down under the lap belt. So I guess the setup will have to be more complicated than that. Yeah, there's no crotch strap to keep her properly positioned. What's better for H2? A 5-point harness adds one critical thinking. A crotch strap that keeps her securely in place. The extra strap prevents sliding, keeps the shoulder belts properly aligned, and is what most child racing seats and car seats use for a reason. So will yours work? Yes, if you use it with something like the Apex Junior seat, which helps position her correctly. The harness is tightly properly. You're doing slow, easy riding only, no rough trails or aggressive driving. But it's still not the safest setup possible for a 2-year-old. My recommendation straight up, so the best setup is an Apex Junior seat, so I'll have to get one that comes with the 5-point harness. Acceptable, light running only Apex Junior plus your 4-point harness. Not recommended. Not recommended. Sandcraft booster at that age. Not enough support. Real talk. Which is good. The only place I'll take her for a ride is my yard. If you're only riding in your yard, that does lower the risk, but it doesn't make the setup unimportant, especially for a 2-year-old. Here's the straight answer for your situation. Best setup for your yard riding for when she turns 2 in 2027. Go the Apex Junior seat plus the 4-point harness for now. That combo works because the Apex Junior keeps her centered and supported. Big ideal for toddlers. It adds side bolsters. She doesn't lean or slide. The 4-point harness is going to hold her securely if it's tightened correctly, which it's going to be tightened securely. Why not the Sandcraft for now? The Sandcraft booster is just a lifted cushion. It doesn't hold her in place. Better for older kids 5 and up. So if you have a kid that's 5 and up, then yeah, go with the Sandcraft. If you have someone younger, then yeah, get the Apex Junior from Aces Racing. At age 2, she'll need support, not just height. Even in the yard, don't skip this. Yard riding still has bumps, turns, sudden stops, so make sure the harness is snug, no slack. Shoulder straps sit on her shoulders, not her neck. She's wearing a helmet. I don't think she has a helmet. Speed, stay very slow. Think walking speed. Simple recommendation. Best choice for now, the Apex Junior plus the 4-point harness. Acceptable for yard cruising. Upgrade later to a 5-point harness when she gets bigger for you to ride more. Find an Apex Junior booster seat that comes with a 5-point harness. Okay, so $199 plus $64.99. One is $199.99 plus $64.99. Ooh, over $260 for the whole setup with the Apex Junior and the 5-point harness. So if you do have a toddler who is 2 to about 8 years old with the Apex Junior and the 5-point harness for when they're like younger, like under 5, because at least when they're 5 they can sit in the booster seat with the 4-point harness. I mean, we haven't tested out on my cousin Briella yet, but we will later on down the road. And we're spending almost 265 bucks on this whole setup with the 5-point harness, the booster seat. That's gonna be insane to install. Yeah, that's gonna be a pain in the butt to install. 265 bucks. Because we're talking about almost a 200 and yeah, we're talking about almost a $200 booster seat plus almost a 65 buck 5-point harness. I mean, it's just cheaper just to get the seat and put the 4-point harness. Even though ChatGPT says it's, not ideal for someone her size, her age. Because 2-year-olds are not really tall enough for the 4-point harness. At least with the if she's sitting upright in the booster seat, then yeah, she'll need the 5-point harness so she gets bigger a bit to where it'll actually reach her shoulders, and then strap it around her belly and the her chest for the 4-point harness. If we're just riding around the yard, I think the 4-point harness will do, but tighten it a little bit on the sides so it'll actually fit her riding position, her height, and all that other stuff to consider when taking a toddler for a ride in a side by side. I mean, she's been used to riding in a golf cart because I gave my cousin Livia the 2017 Easy Go golf cart that I got back in 2020, and she's been liking that. She's liking the golf cart. And I'm really enjoying the Polaris Razor XP 41000 Ultimate. It's like having my own car. I'm filling it with gas. It goes really, really fast. It's definitely one of those machines I'm really excited to drive again and again and again. I never get too bored with the side by side. But with the golf cart, yeah, I was getting kind of bored of it. It was lacking in one thing I wanted, and that's speed. I mean, I liked the golf cart, but I wasn't really riding around all that much. I was riding around in the neighborhood, like, over and over again. I should just stay right here in the yard. It's the safest bet, especially with the neighborhood being as crazy it is. More and more people move into this neighborhood, and it just becomes unsafe to really maneuver around the entire neighborhood like I used to when I had the golf cart. So I guess I should have stayed in the yard and just kept, the batteries charged, and so that the battery doesn't drain going around the yard. But it is what it is. But when we do have our building, our little garage, I'm thinking about getting another side-by-side where I can actually use the booster seat. And it's going to have street tires so it won't mess up the grass. I'm thinking about a CF Moto 950 Sport with street tires on it. That way it's still really high-powered, It's got 83 horsepower, perfect for riding around the yard and cruising the neighborhood. And just use my Racer XP for 1000 Ultimate for trail running, because the off-roading tires, and those off-roading tires, as of right now, dig really deep into the grass. So here's the grass, and here is the off-roading tire. It sticks dig deep in there, tearing up the grass, and I'm turning, and yeah, it tears the grass up. That's basically, an illustration where you got the grass and you got the off-roading tires, and you're just turning around. It's tearing up the grass. Yeah, it's definitely not that good at all. And I've torn up the grass so much just riding around the yard, because I do have off-roading tires, and they're meant for trails where the off-roading tires, my 30 by 10s, the next thing I'm going to be getting is new tires. I'm going to probably get 32 by 10s. Yeah, I'm going to try to get some 32 by 10 tires. I mean, my tires are, what, almost a year old? But I think tires probably don't need to be replaced as much on a side-by-side than on an actual car. We did replace the tires, the rims, and we got a lift for the truck. My mom's still riding on her Hankook tires, which are pretty good. Maybe I'll remind my mom that we can stop by Take 5 and get the oil changed. But we'll see. We just don't have time right now. But with the side-by-side, we got the oil changed. We got everything serviced. We even replaced the wheel bearing on the driver's side rear, which is good, because if I want to take my cousin Briella for a ride, then we might as well replace what needs to be replaced before the wheel falls off. So it was the driver's side rear. I guess it wouldn't matter too much if it did get worse, but I'm glad they pointed that out at Redline. I've never seen that. I would have never noticed, because you couldn't even see the wheel bearing, because it was, it was inside the tire. Yeah, the wheel bearing is actually inside the tire, from what my dad told me. Definitely want to keep my little baby cousin Briella for, safe by replacing what needs to be replaced, and making sure I'm good on my maintenance, because we don't want the engine to blow. My cousin Briella's gonna love that side by side. Woo! Because I know I do. I love going out on the side by side, riding around. And on a Saturday, after I would eat my breakfast, drink my coffee, I would get dressed, and I would head out, ride for like an hour or so before heading out to the dump to do our trash day and all that stuff. Maybe I can start doing that again. Go out, ride around for an hour or so before heading out for, maybe ride around while my mom's getting the trash together. That'd be good. It's a good way to pass the time. So that'd be cool. And maybe one day, next time my cousin Gabriella comes over, I'll take her for a ride in the side side. Means I have to get her a booster seat as soon as possible because we want her to be safe. Or do a temporary solution and add her car seat, even though it's not going to be completely boosted. It's not going to be completely held in. And we'll figure something out. I mean, Austin will always come up with an idea. Put our redneck minds together and figure out what we can do to jerry rig this thing. Yep, to jerry rig this thing and come up with a temporary solution for the Saba side, and basically I don't think her actual car seat, the harness will fit over it. I guess that's why they make booster seats for Saba side, so it'll work with a harness and work with everything else in the Razor or any Saba side for that matter. But maybe in the future, I'll get the CF Moto 950 Sport and can actually transfer that booster seat from the Razor to the CF Moto. Take her for a ride in the CF Moto. That'll probably, when she's actually 2 or 3 years old, she'll be perfect for the age for riding in the CF Moto 950 Sport. I definitely want to get an infotainment screen to enjoy music in the CF Moto 950 Sport. We'll actually talk about audio in the next episode because this is something I've been really enjoying a lot in the Razor is audio. Finding the best soundtrack for your trail rides, your yard rides, your neighborhood rides, whatever, wherever it happens to be. Coming up with the perfect soundtrack to listen to in your side by side, your UTV. So first, to keep your toddler safe in your side by side is a 4-point or a 5-point harness, a booster seat from Apex, which the Apex Junior from Aces Racing, or the Sandcraft booster, and strap it down nice and safe depending on the toddler's size, height, everything, and also the age as well. Because if they're 8 or above, then yeah, they're ready to transition to the normal seat in the Razor or any side by side that you have. And also make sure that the harness is strapped down tight. Even if you're riding around the yard or in the neighborhood, always good to strap it down nice and tight. Because last year when I got the Razor, she was a little teeny thing. Let's see, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. So she was about 8 or 9 months old when I got the Razor. And when I picked it up from the dealership, so she was too young to go riding in the Razor. But she will be old enough next year with a booster and the 4-point harness, maybe the 5-point harness. And kind of strap that down into the Razor and we're good to go. Make sure it's strapped down tight. And then the 5-point harness can be detached at age 4, age 5, maybe age 6, I'm not sure. But we'll have to see. I mean, I'll get the booster seat first, and then see if she needs to be strapped in with the actual 5-point harness that comes with it. I'll actually get both, and then we'll use one or the other to see if she needs the 5-point harness or the 4-point or the 5-point harness. Because the 3-point harness may not be ideal, because we did take out the 3-part harness that originally came in the Razor when it was brand new, which goes over the shoulder and around the belly. We replaced those with a 4-point harness. Which is kind of like what you see in racing, where you be strapped down with, around the belly and around the chest. That's a 4-point harness. And then a 5-point harness that goes around her lap. I think that's what a 5-point harness is. It goes all around her to keep her nice and sturdy in the Razor. I don't want her flying through the windshield or out the window or whatever. We don't want her to do that, so we want to keep her nice and strapped in. So we'll buy both the 5-point harness and the booster seat, and we can swap between one or the other, which is great. I mean, right now she's you never know. She can continue to grow over this upcoming year. Yeah, she might be big enough for the 4-point harness. Who knows? Based on her height and her age, she could be ready. So yeah, with so I guess with the harness, we'll have to try out the 4-point or the 5-point harness, depending on her size, her age, which is gonna be H2. But I guess it's different between one and the other. So we definitely have to do some research on what is best for the side by side, the Razor, or any side by side that I decide to get, like the CF Moto 950 Sport. It can be transferred over from one to the other. That's what's great about the booster seats. They're very versatile if you have multiple machines. So yeah, the Aces Racing Apex Junior is perfect. Absolutely perfect for what it is. It's very versatile to go from one machine to the next. You don't even have to buy a separate booster, which is good. They can use the same booster in multiple machines. But other than that, if you do everything right, then your kid will be nice and safe in your machines. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to talking about music, because just like a car, you need music on the trails or around the yard, around the neighborhood. It's always going to have music. Like we'll talk about the different options that are out there. We'll even talk about SiriusXM. We'll talk about streaming music from your smartphone, whether it's Bluetooth or USB. And we'll talk about AM/FM radio and all that other stuff. But it's definitely going to be an awesome episode. Let's see, I've been live for almost an hour, so we're definitely reaching that 1 hour mark. I don't want these lives to go live too much because you have other things to do. I'm gonna chill, relax, enjoy everything. Just want to get this video to you guys about booster seats and harnesses. So the key takeaway is always keep your kids safe while on the trail. Not just the trail, but around your yard. If you have a yard, if you have a neighborhood, go around the neighborhood. But also, once they get to age 10, they'll be ready for their own machine. Like the Razor 200 EFI or the Ranger 150 EFI, or their own dirt bike, their own four-wheeler, their own off-roading machine. They make trails meant for kids, which is great. Kids trails at Carolina Adventure World. Yeah, Carolina Adventure World offers 100 miles of trails with dedicated green beginner pass suitable for kids, featuring sandy flat and well marketed terrain. Trails 5 and 6 are commonly recommended for beginners, while a dedicated easy riding area is available. So, yeah, they'll be ready to upgrade to their own machine down the road. They do make kids' machines. They make kids' four-wheelers. They make kids' side-by-sides. And I think we talked about that in a previous episode. But since we're mainly talking about kids, keeping them safe, once they get to age 10, then they're ready to get their own machine with some added incentives, like with the Razor 200 EFI and the Ranger 200 EFI. There's on the Polaris app, the parents can monitor their speed, their geofencing, their helmet detection. It's a good way of keeping the kids safe with their own machines. So I guess we'll talk more about that in this live, so I don't have to worry about talking about it in the next live. So after they've transitioned from a booster seat to the actual seat of the of your machine, then they're ready for their own machine when they get to age 10. So age 10 to about 13, 14 or so. And I guess when they get to 18, they're ready for their own, big machine. Those very expensive machines. Then, yeah, they're ready for their own machine by age 10. I wonder what a Razor 200 EFI would have looked like in 2004. What would an RZR 200 EFI look like in 2004? If I had one back in the day. Create an image of what a Razor 200 EFI would have looked like in 2004. Oh, would have, would have looked like in 2004 if it was created in 2004. Oh, that'd be so cool. But in 2004, I didn't have anything. I was 2 years away from getting my first golf cart. So by age 12, I was already driving. I just got rid of the Jeep Power Wheels earlier, in the game. Ooh, that would have looked perfect. Yeah, that would have looked like a cool concept. That looked like a good concept of what an RZR 200 EFI would have looked like in 2004. When was the RZR 200 first created? No, that's not what I want. The first ever model of the RZR 200 EFI. The first ever model of the Polaris RZR 200 EFI was released for the 2022 model year, designed as an upgrade replacement for the RZR 170. Kids side by sides from 2004. So let's see what I would have to look. Let's see. In 2004, the kids side by side UTV market was in its infancy, with most options being youth ATVs rather than true UTVs. Key small operator options included, yeah. So for major brands like the Polaris, Predator. So let's see what they look like. Oh, they're mostly eight. I guess it's something that that 10-year old me would have not, you know, would have never had because of the safety issue. So I guess side by sides didn't even exist when I was a kid. But now, with I guess kids my age would have just gotten a golf cart and just go riding around. Let's kind of look at what we'll do right now is come to the data controls, delete all chats. I was born in 1994. What were some machines that are not four wheelers or dirt bikes kids like me owned back in the day after transitioning from Power Wheels? If you're born in 1994, your next step up after Power Wheels, the late 90s, early 2000s, was a really fun era. Kids were moving up to gas powered or more advanced electric rides. They weren't quite ATVs or dirt bikes yet, but definitely felt like a big upgrade. Here are some popular ones from that time. Scooters, the absolute craze. Oh, scooters. I actually tried one when I was a kid. I was never that good at running scooters in the 2000s. The Razor Ace scooter basically defined childhood around 2000. Lightweight, foldable, in everywhere. School, neighborhoods, skate parks. Kids learn tricks, race friends, and tore up their shins. I don't know if I'd owned one back in the day. Skateboards and incline skates. Oh, explosion of skate culture thanks to games like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Incline skates, rollerblades were still huge in the late 90s, early 2000s. Do it yourself ramps, curb grinding, and neighborhood skate crews were common. Gas powered mini scooters, brands like Go Ped and Blade, small engines, um, go karts. So this is basically what we transitioned to, go karts. I don't think I had a go kart when I was a kid. I didn't own another vehicle until 2 years later when we got a golf cart. Backyard race machine brands from brands like Manco, usually single seat, sometimes with roll cages. Perfect, perfect if you had land or a big yard. Electric scooters, early versions of the electric scooter. Oh, we had one in 2003. You can actually sit on and kind of steer. Early models like the Razor E100, not RZR, but Razor E100, slower and heavier than today's, but felt futuristic at the time. Rechargeable batteries, long charge times, short rides. And then there was rip skits, rip sticks and caster boards. That is basically what we know today as the hoverboard. Oh, the ripstick came a bit later in the mid 2000s. Locomotion riding instead of pushing, huge in neighborhoods and school parking lots. That's kind of basically what we have today, like the hoverboard, drift tricks, do it yourself, big wheels, mods, and PVC wheels. Later became actual products used for downhill sliding and drifting. Pocket bikes. What about golf carts? Golf carts a huge part of growing up in a certain neighborhood. Yeah, golf carts were actually one of the most underrated next step machines for kids your age, especially in places like beach towns, campgrounds, and neighborhoods like yours around Myrtle Beach. Why golf carts were so popular for kids in the late 90s, early 2000s. They're easy to drive, simple pedal steering, no shifting. Parents felt safer compared to dirt bikes or ATVs. Neighborhood legal sometimes in planned communities. Group hangouts. You could pollen and friends and crews. In a lot of areas, the golf cart was basically a kid's first car. The iconic models you probably saw everywhere: Club Car, DS, the Yamaha G16, or the E-Z-Go TXT. Those were workhorses, quiet, if electric, reliable, and super moddable. The cool kit upgrades back then: lift kits, bigger off-road tires, custom seats or two-tone paint, basic steers if you had one. You were that kid. Yeah, I was that kid. Headlights, underglow, early versions, nothing like today. Where golf carts really dominate beach communities like the Grand Strand area, campgrounds and RV parks, subdivisions like with low speed roads, farms or larger properties. In these environments, golf carts were just toys. They were daily transportation for kids. How they fit with your generation's progression. So, because with today's generation having, dirt bikes and of course side by sides, the 200 EFI and the Ranger 150 EFI, we had golf carts. Yeah, for a 1994 born kid, golf carts often solid. Oh, in like this: Power wheel, scooter, skateboard plus golf cart, share with family, gas scooter, go kart, rail car. They were kind of a bridge between toy and real vehicle. Real talk, golf carts might honestly be the closest thing your generation had a freedom before driving age, especially compared to today where kids are more limited. What was my generation's version of the RZR 200 EFI before it even came out? Okay, short answer, there wasn't a perfect one-to-one equivalent, but your generation definitely had a few machines that filled the same role as today's youth. UTVs like the Polaris RZR 200 EFI. The modern RZR 200 is basically a safe kid size side by side with real car vibes. Back in my era, the late 90s, early 2000s, that concept existed, but in a more raw, less refined way. Here's the closest machines. Oh, yard go karts, the closest machine. So we basically had yard go karts. So that was basically like our equivalent to the RZR 200 EF5 since we're talking about kids, keeping them safe. But in my day, yeah, it was quite different. Brands like Monco and Yerf Dog often had two seats, steering wheel, and sometimes a roll cage. Gas powered off road capable, kinda. This is by far the closest thing to an RZR 200 from my childhood. Oh, those machines. I would have loved to have one of those when I was 10. This is by far the closest thing. Yeah, we already read that. No doors, no seatbelts, sometimes no safety tech. Why more figured out and send it energy. Send it. Oh, why more figured out and send it energy. Okay, GoPeds, gas scooters, same setup feeling. GoPed and similar brands, not side by sides, but gave that I've got a motor now independence. Same thing as an RZR, just not the same format. So basically, this is like the kids' version of the Polaris four wheelers that we have today from for the kids. Energy level ATVs, even though you said not four wheelers. Stuff like the Yamaha Raptor 80. This filled the serious machine for kids role. So that's kind of similar to what Polaris has now with their kids four wheelers. Early side by side. Okay, so early side by side ancestors, adult versions, machines like the Polaris Ranger and John Deere Gator, built for work, not kids, but kids definitely rode them. These were the ancestors of today's RZR, just not youth focused. Sure. So what's the real answer? Your generation's RZR 200 equivalent was basically two-seat yard go karts like the Manco and Yerf Dog style. They had a steering wheel, gas engine, off-road reliability, sometimes two seats, but lacked safety features, polish, and kid specific. Oh, okay, but lacked safety features, polish, and kid specific engineering. The big difference between then versus now, the Polaris Razor 200 EFI exists because parents today want seatbelts, speed limits, and remote shut off. Companies realized kids wanted many versions of real off-road vehicles, but then back then it was more here's a go-kart, try not to flip it. Oh. I guess we'll copy the text. So the Yamaha Raptor 80 is similar to the Polaris four-wheelers that the kids have today. Yes, you got that right. Yes, you got the right idea, but there's a small tweak to make it accurate. The Yamaha Raptor is basically the same category as today's Polaris Youth four wheelers, not something totally different. Oh, then versus now, youth ATVs. Your generation, early to mid 2000s. Models like the Raptor 80, simple carb, simple carbureted engines, basic throttle, limiter screw, and minimal safety features. Kids today, models like the Polaris Outlaw 110 EFI, which is electronic fuel injection, speed limiters, and remote shutoff, better suspension, braking, and economics. Same idea, just way more refined and safer for kids today because, the parents today want to have their kids safe. The simplest way to think about it, Raptor 80, your era, early version of the youth ATV. Basically, what kids have today. So it kind of carried on from one generation to another, adding different features and all that stuff, especially with the yard machines that we had back in the day. They kind of built that up to what is now the Razor 200 EFI and the Ranger 200 EFI. So it's not similar. It's basically the same type of machine, just 20 years evolved. One important difference back in my day, the Yamaha, Honda, Suzuki dominated youth ATVs. Today, Polaris really leads the kid-friendly tech and safety side. Bottom line, yes, you can think of the Raptor 80 as your generation's version of the Polaris youth four-wheelers kids ride today. And it's all about keeping the kids safe with advancements in technology. The Razor 200 EFI, the Ranger 200 EFI, all from Polaris. Power sport brands that are making kid-friendly machines, four-wheelers, side-by-sides, etc. Since we're talking about kids and moving up from the booster seat to the actual seat of your own side by side, then having their own side by side. So the biggest player. Okay, here's a clear world breakdown of the major power sport brands making kid-friendly machines today. The ones doing what Polaris is doing with stuff like the Razor 200. Okay, so the big players, kid-friendly power sport brands, is Polaris is the industry leading for kids right now. The Polaris, they're known for the Razor 200 EFI and the Polaris Outlaw 110 EFI. That's basically what we saw earlier with my generation's Yamaha Raptor 80. It's basically like that, but more advanced. Why they stand out: parent controls, speed limiter, remote shutoff, geofencing. It's built specifically for kids, not just smaller adult machines. Full lineup from beginner to advanced. Closest thing to Apple off kids off-roading right now. Yamaha old school king still strong. The Yamaha Motor Company, known for the Raptor 90/110, Grizzly 90, strength, super reliable, simple and proven, more traditional, less tech than Polaris. This is basically the modern version of what you grew up on, the Raptor 80 era. Honda safety and safety plus reliability focus. Honda, best known for the TRX 90X. Strengths is they're extremely durable, beginner friendly, and conservative, less aggressive performance. Honda is like the safe parent choice brand. Oh, Can-Am is alternative to Polaris. So I guess if you're a Can-Am family, you're getting the Can-Am Maverick side by side, then you can get your kid a Can-Am DS70 and DS90. Strength, sporty feel, good performance, slightly more aggressive than Honda or Yamaha. Think of it as Polaris' main competitor. Kawasaki, this is if you're getting the KRX side by side, then yeah, you can become a Kawasaki family by getting your kids the KFX 50 and the KFX 90. That's what they're known for. Strengths, straightforward, durable, and good, smarter machines. Now, if you're going CF Moto, newer budget friendly brand, CF Moto. Okay, Strengths is the lower price, good features for the money, and growing fast in the US. This is if you decide to get any of their Z Force brands, and yeah, you can get your kid a CF Moto, kind of go, keep it within the family. Example of a modern kids machine. Best example of today's ultimate kid ride, the 2026 Polaris RZR 200 EFI. Sun and okay, so 180cc EFI engine, adjustable speed starts under 16 miles an hour, increases as skills improve. Parent controls and safety systems, 2 seats, ride with friends. This is what replaced backyard go karts from my era, being 20 years old, from 20 years ago. Okay, so how brands compare. Polaris Tech, yeah, Polaris is known for tech, safety, and side by sides, and they're most advanced. That's their vibe, most advanced. Yamaha, reliability and tradition, and their vibe is old school. Because we did have Yamahas growing up in the 2000s with the 80. I don't. I forgot what we said earlier. Honda safety plus beginners. So they're kind of a very conservative brand. Can-Am performance plus sport is their vibe is aggressive. Kawasaki is simple plus durable, and their vibe is balanced. CF Moto budget plus value, up and coming. That's their vibe. Big takeaway. This is the key. Back when I was growing up, kids rode whatever smaller machines existed, and now these brands are building machines specifically engineered for kids with speed control, remote shut off, GPS geofencing, and adjustable growth features. This is the biggest shift in the industry. So that's after they grow from their toddler years riding in your own machine, the one that you're driving, to sitting in the actual seat of your machine, and then gradually move into their own machine when they turn 10. So we're looking at the Razor, their own machine with the Razor 200 EFI, the Ranger 200 EFI, or kid-friendly four-wheelers or dirt bikes, whatever they want, which is perfect. And then once they get to age 18, 19, and into their adult years, they can get their own big machine like the Polaris Razor XP models, the Pro models, CF Moto, Can-Am, Kawasaki, Honda, you name it. They can move on to their own machine once they turn 18 and have their own independence. And they can, take it to the trail. They can take it anywhere. Right around the yard still, in the neighborhood. It's just great to see how people can grow from their toddler years to their adult age, moving from being a passenger in a machine to, like, especially with a booster seat, then transitioning to the so basically they're transitioning from a booster seat with a 5-point harness and transitioning to a 4-point harness, and then after the 4-point harness are removing the booster seat and, you know, gradually moving to the actual built-in seat. And then 2 years later, they'll want their own machine, especially the RZR 200 EFI, the Ranger 200, the Razor 150 EFI, and a lot of these, mainly side by sides, will be a much safer option to start off with when they're 10. But if they want to go even crazier, they can get a four wheeler or a dirt bike if they're careful. But I guess the best thing to do is to get the Razor 200 or the Ranger 150. Both have an EFI engine, which is perfect for a beginner. Then more advanced, they can move up to a four wheeler or a dirt bike if they want to get even crazier. And then once they get to 18, they can move, get their own, big boy machine with a much bigger size engine, more horsepower, stuff like that. It's kind of cool seeing kids grow up from a booster seat to using the actual seat in your machine to getting their own machine. It's amazing. And the entire point of this is to keep them safe, even when they're transitioning, going through life with these machines. So we're about to reach that 1 hour, 1.5 hour mark. So hope you guys enjoyed this episode of keeping your kids safe in your machine to transition to their own machine, and just to keep them safe all around as they're growing up on these trails and in the backyard, around the neighborhood, wherever, to keep them safe. But I think for with the machines now, the geofencing, you can just put around the entire house so they can get some practice in, and they'll be ready to go professional with the bigger size Razors, the Can-Ams, the Hondas, the Yamaha, the Kawasaki, or any other side-by-side brand they'll be ready to transition to once they turn 18. So hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you guys very, very soon. And make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell to get notified when I upload a brand new episode of the Off-Road Campground playlist, or Off-Road Campground podcast, or my next trail ride. You don't want to miss out. So, peace.